On today's show, we're going to go over a few news stories from the last week regarding Walt Disney World and other Disney products. That's coming up on Traveling with the Mouse. Welcome, everyone, to Traveling with the Mouse. This is episode number 485. Yes, that's right. We're only 15 away from the big 500, which means, let's say at one a week. When are we going to hit that? By summer? Right around summertime?
15 weeks.
Yeah. I'm your host this week. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by my faithful co-host, Adam.
Boo. What's up, everybody?
Only thing I regret, I guess I'll say that I dislike about hosting is that I don't get to give one of my lines. So,
well, you can still do it.
I could. Yeah. It just doesn't have the same ring when I do it that way.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I am co-hosting, and I am joined by the host, John. Oh, yeah.
You're gonna switch it back? Okay, wait a minute. Let me think. It's gonna be one of the attractions going away that I got to work in.
Yeah. Tough to be a bug. You need to put one.
Yeah, I need to come up with one that's tough to be a bug. Apparently, I didn't come up with one really quick on that one, though. It's like that.
Well,
anyway,
you got time.
Yeah, I got a little bit of time. Not very much. Maybe next week when you host, I'll have a line.
There you go. You'll be ready.
And anyone out there, if they can actually guess it, because my co-hosts apparently were that they couldn't think of what comes next on the Muppet Vision one.
Yeah, that one.
I can't believe that's like one of the most popular pre-show lines, in my opinion, is when he says, "Will you stop this foolishness?" Well, what foolishness would you like to see? Will you get out of here?
Yeah. I don't know. That one didn't hit me immediately.
It didn't hit you.
Was. Yeah. Anyway. Now I remember it when you added the Gonzo line, but
when I added it, yes. Yeah.
But
I could have said one like, "It's a glorious 3-hour finale."
Well, of course.
And you would know that one. Everyone knows that one.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, as I said at the top of the show when I was introducing,
we're
going to cover a bit of the news stories that came out during the time period. I'm trying to remember from last week. Did you mention how Disney says that they expect small impact from Epic Universe opening? Kind of a different story than what they originally said.
Right. We did not talk about that last week, no.
Well, it was a reason why I was questioning whether we did or not is because it was in the earnings call, right? And so the question was actually posed to Iger and Johnston about Epic Universe. Johnston's comments, originally, right, said that didn't really anticipate anything, I think.
I think the way they worded it in the last one was like, oh, even summer is like already strong or whatever. The bookings.
That's right. Because it was like they were thinking that it was actually going to, instead of hurting, they were thinking it was going to help them.
Right. Yeah. They kind of worded it like that. Like, oh, this is even going to be like, helping because bookings are already strong for summer and people are going to do both.
Our competitor opening a whole new theme park is going to be good for us.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
there's room for everyone.
He did say anticipate small impact, but notes, here's what we would say, that Disney's guidance of 6 to 8% income growth in the experience divisions includes that impact. So,
yes. Well, because they continue to just raise prices. So the people that do show up to Disney are going to be paying more anyway. So I guess that's probably why.
I got a feeling that there's a possibility that they're starting to see an impact somewhat.
Yeah.
Like they may have had a good outlook initially, but whenever we're talking 6 months in advance, basically at that point in time, people have a tendency to change their minds or cancel during those time periods. From what I've seen, let's say through social media and what have you, how people talk, like they'll hold a reservation even if they end up not, what I mean, doing it. So they don't really have a good idea of what they're going to actually have until the cancellation window closes pretty much for that time period. So,
and we say the same thing about dining reservations. People hold a lot of those and then they'll cancel them That's why last minute you can get a lot of stuff really.
This is true. Like day of, you can get some pretty good ones because people have already changed their minds. They're like, "Oh, we're going to be doing this instead," type deal.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it happens. I'm sure there's a few people that are going to be looking forward to there being a impact that's going to make Disney World a little less busier. But the thing is, it seems like nowadays when people hear that, it's like it attracts a different crowd, the crowd that wants it to be less busy, and then all of a sudden it's crowded again.
Right.
And then it's like, how long does that cycle keep going until people just like give up, I guess, when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so anyway,
I am looking forward to going in the summer, and I'm looking at maybe like July 4th or maybe June. I just haven't decided yet. But I'm looking at the rates right now because they do have 40% for annual pass holders in the summer already. And I'm looking at, say, let's see, for July 4th that week, including the weekend, Contemporary is available at 404, 394 for Yacht Club, 238 for Caribbean Beach. All Stars is like 160. Pop Century's 173. So All Star Music is 140. Ooh, look at this. Polynesian 487. I actually found a Polynesian room available.
That's just sad that you would look at 487 and say, "Ooh,"
I know.
at this
Because
point.
I've never seen that low of a price. It's a deluxe studio resort view.
And see, I just can't see paying
It's really
487 for
heavy.
the studio that they have. I mean,
My gosh. The preferred is
and that's considered
616.
good.
I know.
That's the thing.
That's
That's the
stunning
hard
to me that
part.
I found a room at Polynesian available.
Yeah,
Sub 500, but barely. Beach Club's 403. Anyway, I don't need to tell you all these. Boardwalk's 402.
I keep saying it.
I'm telling you.
This is
But anyway,
like I said, this is kind of the sad part. We're like sub 500 is considered like, yeah,
good. Yeah,
when
I
it
know.
comes to deluxe resorts.
But how often do we ever see Polynesian available? And then after Epic Universe is open, I'm looking and there it is. So interesting.
Well, maybe it suggests that there is more of an impact than they would like to admit currently.
Yeah. And the whole pricing thing, that was another story that came out this week. That article, what was it again? Wall Street Journal or something had posted that. I thought that was referencing, because they mentioned something about, Disney had decided to make parking free
Let me
again.
go to it right quick.
Yeah.
Well, it was going back. It's like a timeline, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Because that was like, as soon as Iger came back, they did that little
It was
throwing a bone in
we
this.
said it. We said it, or at least I said it.
Yeah.
Throwing a bone, and
Right.
so far
That's
that's like
basically
the
what it
only
was.
thing that's so far
Right.
it's
They
still
haven't done anything
they're the
since.
only thing that changed still, even to this day.
Yeah.
The only bone that we received.
But it was interesting that Disney did respond to that with talking about, we've got all these discounts and blah, blah, blah. And I got an email from
Like right
Disney
after.
like Monday. Yeah. Immediately after that. And it was promoting that $50 a day kid tickets, children tickets at Disneyland. But
See, here's the thing. They hit back at that, as you say, by giving something that's special,
right.
right? Not
Right.
admitting we're too expensive.
Right.
We're just going to cut you a deal.
Right.
We're not going to roll anything back. We're just going to cut you a deal at the end in response to this.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not the same thing as
It's
consistently rolling something back.
yeah. No, it's just saying like, hey, we do discounts occasionally. It's basically what they said.
Yeah,
It's like,
pretty much.
I
But
mean, they basically have a discount all the time at this point. I mean, lately they've been doing it.
so going back to the one that you were referring to, the Wall Street Journal article talking about it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Kind of just giving like a bit of a rundown of what they were talking about there. Disney has obviously the vacation experience with Disney has become more expensive, which it's always has had a bit of an expensive price tag to it. But I think what we've done is we've reached a point where it's so obvious and so straining to the people that want to go that they're like, "You got to be kidding me," kind of type comments to it. Like every time they do something now, because it just seems so obvious, almost gouging in some ways.
Right. And I'll say I've cut back because of, we talked about just now the Polynesians. Like that's where we always stayed for
Mhm.
the longest time. And it was almost always deluxe resorts. And now I'm staying at values and mods a lot because it's just too expensive. Like it's not worth the price tag. I love the deluxe resorts, but you can get that at a lot of other places for half the price. It's
Right.
literally the location.
And a lot of those deluxe resorts, what you're paying for is your proximity to
Yeah.
a park.
And if you're spending all day in the park, then you don't need to be spending
Right.
$600 or $800 a night on a hotel room when
Right,
you're
right,
only there for like 8 hours a night. That's it.
right. I would go on record and say the resort that gives you the most for your dollar currently is Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, all the above, yeah. I would probably say Coronado. That's just because it's like that Ma
Yeah, but it's
Ducks.
not deluxe.
Yeah. But it's as close as you can get. It's pretty close.
Yeah, as close as you can get without being an actual deluxe. But the one I'm referring to is like a deluxe
Yeah.
resort that gives you get the
All
deluxe
the
amenities and it doesn't cost you
an arm and a leg.
$400+ in some cases.
Yeah, actually, I was looking again at that same time frame around July 4th, and Animal Kingdom Lodge was what was the price? It was
I'm gonna
actually like
guess they have it as low
309.
as about 370.
It was 309 actually.
309. Okay, lower. Okay.
Yep. And let me see what room that is. It's probably the
Well, I know when we got the pool view back
the
in
resort view.
20 yeah, when we got the pool view back in 2022,
Mhm.
we actually found one for 325 at that point.
Right. Deluxe Studios Savannah View is only 435.
There you go.
That's not bad at all.
And that's another thing since we're talking about it. This is kind of almost like a trip planning type thing.
I know. Yeah.
I would say Animal Kingdom Lodge, don't waste your money on Savannah View unless you like plan on living in that room just about.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can see animals like all over the
All over
place.
the resort.
Like
Yeah. But
right, there's all kind of views.
yeah, the
So,
selling point that they do is the wake up to walk out
right.
and they're there, kind of thing. But
So it's up to you to decide, is waking up to seeing animals worth the extra $100 a night versus waking up and seeing the pool? You know what I mean?
right,
Something like that.
right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Is it worth it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Probably
if you're going to
is.
go to parks. I know it sounds like I'm criticizing that, but I'm really not, because it's really just like you really have to just weigh that out. Is it worth it to you? Right. Some people are going to say it's worth it to them, but the question
Yeah.
is it worth it to you for that?
Right.
Personally, I don't think it is, but
Yeah. Right. The extra 100 a night. Right. Are you going to be sipping your Keurig rusty brown water? Sorry.
dang.
Brown.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just
You don't
saying,
like you don't like the options that they give you in the room?
no, don't use the room. I
It's
wouldn't. I mean,
Joffrey's,
but I don't
and you're
know.
not a fan of Joffrey's, obviously. Not really.
Well, Joffrey's is okay. Like I prefer the Kona one is good.
Mhm.
But other than that,
The press pot at Kona Cafe, that's like some of the
oh
best coffee.
yes. Oh my gosh. I always get that one. Oh, good. That's
Yeah,
yeah. Totally. Best coffee on property, probably.
that's one of the best.
I can't think of a better
Um,
one at the moment, but
Tell you what, well, like I say, we have neighbors that are of Latin origin, we'll say, and we've gone over there for like their kids' birthdays, parties, and everything. And like the dad or her dad, so it's really the granddad of the kids. He
uh,
makes coffee. I don't know what it is he makes, but it's like really strong. But it's only in like this little, like almost like a shot glass, really,
oh, so is
almost
it
of
like
coffee.
it's
It's kind of
almost
like
like
an espresso
Turkish
shot, but it's
coffee?
really good. Yeah, it's really good. Whatever he makes.
The strongest coffee I've ever had is Turkish coffee, and it's
Yeah.
like the grounds are in the bottom of the cup. It's it's really strong.
And for whatever reason, when they ask if you want it to be sweetened, they do it with brown sugar. I don't know what that's about, but
Is it raw sugar or like the
it's
raw sugar?
brown sugar. It's
Yeah.
you know.
But anyway, I
So
always
no,
use
it's
raw
not
sugar. It's
not
kinda
brown,
better.
as in like it's the cane sugar. No, I just mean it's the actual brown
Oh,
sugar.
like actual brown sugar.
Yeah. So
Interesting. Well, that coffee with butter in it at Nomad Lounge, the Mustang coffee has the butter, and I think I said brown sugar. I think it was brown sugar and butter. Man, that was good. So
okay, so we kind of turned to a food
coffee
option
show.
again.
Right.
But I mean, it's still
Right.
good information for you guys in case you
But I was
want.
gonna say the coffee maker in the room, I would
Mhm.
prefer to go down and get coffee from wherever quick service location or whatever.
Which is what I did in our last stay. I
Or
got the mugs
yeah.
because they just had a regular coffee pot in there for some reason versus a Keurig.
Yeah.
But
In either one, like I don't love the Keurig either, to be honest. Yeah, I just don't do it
well,
anymore.
the thing is with the Keurig is we bring our own pods to put in
Well,
them.
right. Even with the pot, like I don't know. I'm more snobby about
Yeah. But
coffee
I'm just
like
saying
that. But
we bring our own. We bring the good stuff. In other words,
right. Because I
so if
don't
they
love the Joffrey's, what is it? French the dark I don't love that one. That you get in most places. It's not the one I would get. But anyway.
so we brought it all this last time, and
Mm.
anticipating there being a Keurig because there normally is with those type rooms. It was a regular coffee pot. So I was like,
Ugh,
okay.
right. Go figure on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DVCs I thought always had Keurigs, but
That's what I thought too, but I was surprised that it wasn't, unless maybe the Keurig there broke and they just had that to replace it with, the Cuisinart. So
yeah.
anyway, kind of following back up on that article, they talk about
Yeah.
a big area where a cash grab has been undeniable is, of course, Lightning Lane, right?
Right.
Because
Which
pre-COVID, FastPass Plus was free,
yep.
and then Genie Plus had a price tag attached to it, and Lightning Lane Plus has continued. Lightning
Yeah.
Lane Plus, excuse me, Lightning Lane Multipass has continued
And the
to have a
Premier
price
Pass is
tag.
definitely a cash grab because it is not worth that price tag. But
Yeah, let's just say a max out right now of $449 per person per day, and it only works for one park and each ride once.
yeah, one ride. Yeah, if it was
That is,
unlimited
yeah, that is super
completely.
expensive. I
Yeah.
gotta say though, I have seen some people post in these groups that have about Lightning Lane, and I question of whether they're legitimate or not, like the average
Yeah.
guest. Like it's not a bot placed by
Right.
Disney.
Right.
But they thought that they got their money's worth out of it, or they enjoyed doing that, skipping everything, and I'm like,
Well,
"Okay, I'm glad you
yeah.
had the extra 5 grand to spare, on top
Right.
of wherever you stayed." You
Well,
know
it's
what I mean?
yeah, putting that into perspective, you can eat at Victoria and Albert's for a lot less per person than
Yeah.
than that, and I would rather do that.
If you're gonna price it in that range, it should at least be unlimited, even if you stick
Yeah,
it to one park.
totally. Because as we mentioned last week, at the old Fast Pass Plus system, you could ride multiple times. Whatever you could pull, you could get it and ride it.
Now, granted,
It
most
wasn't
people probably weren't because they didn't know it, right?
yeah.
But
Or they're like, "Oh, we already did that." So,
we got our 3
yeah.
in, that's the end of the day.
Yeah, a lot of times that was it. People, didn't do that. Didn't do more than that or much more than that.
Well, anyway, it goes on to talk about things like the Magical Express, which most people don't mention nowadays. That was a nice perk for those that got to use it.
Yeah, if you flew in, it was a
Mhm.
great perk.
Did you ever use it?
No, I never flew during that time period
I
to get
used it
in.
once,
Yeah, I
just
remember you
once.
mentioned that.
Yeah.
You were at Pop, right, that time?
Mhm. We
Yeah,
were
you
at Pop
mentioned that.
Century that time.
Yeah.
It was early December, and I thought it was great personally. Other than the fact that those times the pop rooms, they were not refurbed to what they are now. So I did mention
Right.
that comment about tripping over the luggage when we opened the door when it was finally delivered. 'Cause
Right.
it was literally like right there.
Right.
Like there was barely enough room to open the door before you found the luggage. So
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely did a great job redoing those rooms, but
they maximized the space as much as they possibly could with what they had. Let's put it that
yeah.
way. So
The fold-down beds are yeah, huge.
I just remember Pop back in the day. You had the carpet, The door would just barely clear the bed when you opened it.
Yep.
The door in the bathroom would barely clear the toilet. It's like
Yep.
everything was measured just perfectly to miss.
It was a centimeter. Yeah. Literally.
Like if somebody opened the door while you're on the can, that would like knock your knees off.
Yeah. So now they have the pocket doors, which is much better.
So, I mean,
So for Magical Express, do you remember did you have to wait a long time
to get on a
for
bus?
other guests to get on, or did you have to stop at other resorts first? Like, how did that work? I don't remember much about
Well,
that.
I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna try to recall this to you as best as I can because it was 2008 or so
Yeah.
when I did it. They basically had like these queue lines almost, depending on where you were going.
Okay.
It was a Mears bus. If you'd
Mhm.
ever been on one of those before,
Right.
it was
Yeah.
nice. It was comfortable. It was a comfortable bus. It had these monitors on it that had like a video, which you can probably still find out there on YouTube and what have you, of what the Magical Express showed when they while you were
I'm
like they
sure
gave
there
you
is.
like they had like this promotional type video that was just the proper length for you to get to wherever you were going. Now, if I recall, I do remember they were resort specific, so my bus went straight to Pop.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I don't recall ever stopping anywhere else other than Pop. So we went straight there, and in our case, because we were doing Magical Express, we knew our luggage was gonna come later, so we just went straight to a park at that point
Right.
in time.
And then just waited for the luggage later.
Came back that evening, and the luggage was there.
Nice.
My brother James was like at that time period, he was like concerned about the luggage. Apparently, like he was like, "It better be here."
Yeah.
It's like this sort of thing.
Right.
But
Yeah, I'm sure that's most people would, but they do this all the time, so
yeah,
they were good at it. But
of course, they gave you a time to come back whenever it was time for you to go back to the airport. It was very seamless to me. I thought it worked well. That was actually in a time period before, though. I don't know how it worked later, but that was a time period before there were really apps and things like that for your phone.
Mhm. Right.
That was relatively new or on the cusp of becoming a thing.
Was there a special bus stop for it at the
A
resort,
special
or
bus stop? No, there was a special bus. If you remember right, there was a Magical Express bus. It actually said
Right,
that,
right.
but it dropped you off right at the front,
And then when you had to go
just like where
back,
you would pull your car in.
right, but when you had to go back, there was a
Same
certain
thing.
time you had to be there?
Yeah, it was a certain time you had to for pickup. Yeah.
Okay.
So like you had to have your luggage tagged properly and drop it off at some point. And you could, if say for example, if your time was later in the day, you could go to a park again if you still had
Right,
a ticket. You just had to be back there at that resort in time for the pickup
to get
time.
on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a great system. People
Yeah,
loved it.
it's similar to when you can drop your luggage off with the bellhop, right? And then go off somewhere, and then they take it to your room when your room's ready, type deal.
Yeah.
Like you have to call them, of
Yeah.
course, but I mean they will bring it to you. Like you put it in storage. Essentially, it's kind of the same thing that they
Yeah,
did
yeah,
right there with Magical Express.
right.
But it was a good system. It worked out well. I enjoyed it the one time that I did it. So
Yeah. People loved that one. You know,
yeah,
it's funny, in relation to this article, I was reading a thread a lot of people chimed in on, and the number one complaint, aside from this going away, the Magical Express going away, was when you bought merch and they would send it to the room for you. That
oh
was
yeah,
the number one complaint, that they got rid of that because people don't want to carry merch around all day.
right. I remember many moons ago
Yeah.
trying this out when it was still in the early phases, right? We're
Oh,
talking
yeah.
turn of the century,
Right. Yeah.
and it was relatively new at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One thing you had to do with that is you had to, I think, be 2 days away from actually leaving because it didn't
Yeah.
arrive until the next day.
Yeah.
Like, in
It
other
couldn't
words, you
be on
couldn't
your
be
last day. Yeah.
right, you couldn't be on your last day or the day before it, because if they sent it, it could be because it was
Yeah.
like the delivery time was like 3 PM, right? And your checkout's 11.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
couldn't be your day of leaving either back then.
Right.
So You had to have at
Yeah.
least 2 days basically left or a day
Something
and a
like that.
half.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, I think a lot of people were saying, you used to could buy something and have it waiting for you at the park entrance when you're leaving or the exit area.
So
And
I
they
haven't
don't do
tested
that
it
anymore
out.
either.
Yeah, I haven't tested that out in a while. So I guess I
Yeah,
don't do it anymore at
they
all?
still don't, yeah. I
Okay.
remember doing that pre-COVID where I'd buy something. Like, I remember specifically at Hollywood Studios, it was right by the
Yeah,
where
the
you rent
pickup
the
points.
strollers, yeah, at the
It's
exit.
probably guest services, isn't it, or no? Like right there where Sid Cajonga's used to be way back in the day?
Mm, if I remember right, it was over on the opposite side where the
Oh, the
gas
strollers.
station was the stroller.
Yeah.
That's what I seem to remember picking up merch there that I bought. And then Main Street, it was by the fire station on that side.
The
City Hall?
Tony's
Is
side
it
or the
City
other
Hall?
side?
The other side.
Well,
City Hall?
City
Was
Hall's
it?
where guest services is. That's where Elon
Yeah,
was
so
saying.
that was where it was at Magic Kingdom, I think, because I remember doing it there once as well.
Yeah, I know where the stroller pickups are at all of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you did that recently too, so
Yeah. The thing that's kind of neat with what they do now is if you want to, you can pay for multiple days and you just bring the receipt with you.
I feel like I did that before,
Mhm.
but
You probably did.
yeah,
They
I
probably
just
did,
had the
but
receipt or something, yeah.
you just had to bring the receipt and the next day and they would let you, pick one up without having to, pay separately if you knew you were going to go to a park the next day or
Right.
multiple days. You
Yeah.
could just start with that one park and pay for how many days, and then you just bring the receipt with you and they,
Yeah.
give you whatever it is you paid for, whether it
Yeah.
be a wheelchair or a double stroller or what. So,
Right.
yeah.
But thinking about the merch thing too, how expensive was that for Disney? Because I feel like they're losing out. Because for me, I don't buy merch because I don't want to carry it around. If I can't fit it in my backpack that I carry with me, I don't want to buy anything.
If they ever bring it back, expect it to have a price tag and not be complimentary.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, you want to have it shipped to your room for $15 or whatever. Yeah,
Right. Like they'll
probably.
be asking you right there at the point of sale, right?
Yeah. Right. Do
They'll
you
be
want to
asking
add
you
$10 to yeah,
to have it shipped to your
ship it to
room
your
or
room?
shipped to the front of the park. Oh,
Ugh.
sure.
Some people would pay that, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
mean, think of all the giant toys or merch or things that you have to wait till the end of the day to buy, and nobody wants to stand in line at the
Right.
end of the day at a park to buy something.
And if
So,
anything, this is the Disney business model. Actually, it's a lot of places' business model now is the upcharge feature.
right,
You want this service? Well, it costs this much more. No more
right.
complimentary services of any kind. That
I
doesn't matter
know.
if it's Magical Express, Fast Pass, doesn't matter what it is. No more. It's always
No
an
mas.
upcharge.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
mas.
Yeah. Bleh. That was one of the best things about a Disney vacation back in the day was all the little things they would do for you that made you feel like, oh, this is worth it because they'll take all the stuff I buy and put it in my room and they'll take me to and from the airport I remember when we first did this podcast, I was a big proponent for Disney transportation. I was just like, I didn't want to drive my own car because Disney did it for
Right.
me. Like, but now it's like, no, I don't,
And
you know,
just driving around property lately, just even coming in,
yeah,
Disney is going to have to do something about their transportation because I think more people are choosing to drive and it's just clogging up the whole property, like all the roads on the property. It really is. Once upon a time, you drove
yeah,
to get to your resort and that was it.
right. Yeah. I mean, we didn't see our car until we left. It was like,
Exactly. Like you just said
it's
goodbye to
true.
the car when you drove in the parking lot.
Right. Yeah.
It just felt
Um,
weird when you got back in it.
we were there Thanksgiving week this past year and the Black Friday, it was Black Friday. That night, we were trying to meet somebody at Disney Springs for dinner. We're like, let's just go there. And it was so jammed. The roads were so packed. The parking decks were full. And
Uh-huh.
then as we were trying to get through that, there's like the grapefruit was the only one that was open. And by the time we tried to get to where we could U-turn to get in there, grapefruit was full. And it was just like, okay, there's nowhere to park at Disney Springs. And the road was like jammed. So we just left. And that's when we ended up at Coronado. And we just hung out at Dahlia Lounge instead of going to Disney Springs because there was nowhere to go. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, this last time we went, I took the bus simply because I really didn't want to fool with going to the car. And I didn't really, I mean, I wasn't like pressed for time either. So I didn't mind the ride.
Yeah.
So,
if you're trying to take it easy,
yeah.
I still don't love the buses because it's usually so painfully slow.
I mean,
Depending on where we go.
the thing is, every bus I feel like I got on this last time had been refurbed or was new.
Mhm.
And they were rather pleasant for the most part. I mean, and of course they have the music on them now where they didn't used
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
things like that. They kind of hype you up for where you're going.
Right.
So
If you are staying in a deluxe, I think it's better than
if you're just taking in the
value.
experience, right, and you're just really just kind of easy going, so to speak, the bus is probably still a good option.
Sometimes those lines though can get so bad.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is when you hit the bus transportation, like the timing, that's another thing.
Yeah. That's the main thing that I hated.
It's not the most efficient thing in the world, but it's also not the worst if you really, you know. I actually liked taking the bus to say something like Disney Springs, like you were saying, just because of where it is. I mean, the bus stops are
Right.
relatively convenient depending on what resort you're at. But
Right. But at least the bus has their own lanes now on that. So if it is jam-packed, the buses can still get through to the bus stops at least. If it's super busy down there. But anyway, yeah.
the only thing is there's certain parks that the bus stop is not very convenient. Epcot being one of them.
Yeah, I think Epcot is the worst
Yeah.
by far. I think
And
it's
once upon a
way too far.
time, MGM Studios was actually pretty good, but when they reconfigured everything, it's further away now too.
I
So
don't think it's terrible because it's not. It's basically kind of where the Skyliner is, and I mean it's further away, but it's not near. It's not like as bad as Epcot. Put it that way.
yeah, the best one proximity wise has got to be. I don't know if it's. I can't tell now if it's Animal Kingdom or if it's Magic Kingdom. It's one of the two. Probably Animal Kingdom actually.
I don't know. Magic
It's
Kingdom is
close.
pretty close because I've used it
Yeah, Magic Kingdom depends on the
recently
resort.
too. The only thing about Magic Kingdom that's the worst is if you try to leave when the park closes. Like it's going to take you an hour and a half, no matter what resort, unless you're staying at Contemporary.
Well, or Wilderness Lodge
Right.
because
Well, if you're taking a
that boat
bus,
launch. That
right?
boat
If you're
launch.
taking a bus, though, it's going to take you like an hour and a half to get to
Yeah.
wherever.
But that boat launch to Wilderness Lodge
That's nice. Yeah.
was not very many people.
How big was the boat you were on?
You know, they have some that are pretty big. The
That's
one
what
that
I
we
noticed.
took over there from back from Magic Kingdom was actually one of the bigger ones.
That's what I wonder. Do they pull those out at night, the bigger ones?
Mhm.
Because I
I didn't think
know,
they used to have those. Those boats look like they're the ones that used to be. Where was that? Those used to be. I feel like they used to be somewhere else when I saw them.
yeah, because I recognize them, but I'm like,
Yeah.
they didn't use, it used to be those tiny boats.
It reminds me of the boats some of the boats anyway, that they use over there in the Epcot Resort area.
Right,
Because
they
they
had
have the
a
back.
friendship boat, but they're taller, right? They're bigger.
Yeah, they're tall. It's like a friendship
Yeah.
boat with an extra deck.
Yeah, I know which ones you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like those were
Interesting.
used somewhere else, but I can't put my finger on it. Anyway.
Yeah.
But they're, the other ones that have the wooden
Right. That
seats
are like
basically. Those are
seat like
there's not
15
very
people.
many. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are nice, because of that. That's
Right.
that's one of the things.
Part of the charm of it, although I feel like at the end of the day, that's going to be filled up pretty quickly.
Well, as I told in my trip report, just because I wanted to sit or we wanted to kind of take it easy. It took us longer to get back to the resort, but we took the
Yeah.
monorail, another
Right.
monorail, and then the boat.
Yeah.
It was still, I enjoyed that trek doing that. It took longer, like I said, but hey, I didn't care. It
Yeah.
was the end of the night, or the end of the day.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, if it's fine with you and you're doing that,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
We've kind of gone off and taken this episode in a different direction.
Well, there's more stories we can rapid fire cover here.
Let me just go with the more recent ones.
Yeah.
Lightning Lane pricing returns to all-time highs in March, probably because of spring break.
breaks. Yeah. Early March.
So when they say it returns to all-time highs, are they saying like that it's ever been, or right around like pushing the limits of what it's been?
The same as the holiday season, 39 for Magic Kingdom. Has been the peak so far. They have not crossed the $40 threshold. 39 Magic Kingdom.
And for the Premier Pass, the $449, which we mentioned just a moment ago, is the early March pricing for March 2nd through the 4th, at least anyway, at this point.
Yeah. And Hollywood Studios, as I said, is usually only a few bucks cheaper than Magic Kingdom. So the peak for that one is 35.
And I would expect Single Pass to return to all-time highs, but they don't have that one listed, I don't think, at this point, right?
Well, they said that, those kind of stay pretty consistent. They don't change much. So you're talking, 25 for Rise, and it's probably the lowest is 20 maybe now for Rise, if that.
It's funny. How long is Rise going to be the most expensive one? How much longer is Rise going to be the most expensive one?
Yeah, I'm like,
it's been holding the title for a while.
Right. Do they use that money for maintenance? Like, I don't know. Where do they?
It doesn't seem to be that the case.
Because I was going to say, if it is, then it's always going to be 25. It's never not going to be.
It's never, it'll only go up.
Yeah. Maybe if the cannon starts working.
At what point do they start pushing the envelope with the price to see how many people buy it, right? So
I mean, the ride is 6 years old now, right? So
yeah,
is it really worth more now? I mean, most people have already done it.
It's weird. I don't know. It's an experience, and I think at once upon a time that's what people wanted, right? Like a longer ride.
Yeah.
I don't know that they necessarily want that right now. It's one of those weird attention span things. Like I remember hearing Bill Maher mention recently, because he has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
And he said that like the American attention span, like he was criticized for only going an hour. He's like, an hour? Are you kidding me? It's like you would get those comments. And I was like, it's like the American attention span is either like 10 seconds or 3 hours. Right. That's how he put it.
Well, I was like, TikTok or this long form stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
Right. Like they want their podcast to be 3 hours long, but they want their little videos to be 10-second spurts.
Right.
I mean, it's just the weirdest thing. Yeah. Anywhere in between, it's like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah. Like
just
a standard, a standard TV show or whatever. It's like
we might have people in our audience that wants us to go 3 hours. I don't think we're going to ever accomplish that, but
we can't not. Yeah. I mean, this is as short as we can get. Usually it's like 45 minutes. It's probably as short as we could ever go, but.
Well, we usually go about an hour.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
usually an hour. I'm just saying, I think if we really tried, 45 is probably the lowest we could do.
Oh, the shortest we could do. Yeah, you're right. Right. We could definitely go longer if we had the time.
Totally.
So, all right. So going into another story.
Yeah.
Unfairly Ever After.
Right. Okay.
You heard about that one? The Hollywood Studios Villain Show.
So it has a name.
Yes, and it's going to have a 40-minute runtime, which kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. Is that long enough, people? Or is it too long?
Yeah, the weird thing is Disney did say that, and then they retracted it. They took that off. If you notice.
They did? The 40-minute runtime?
Yeah, they originally said that, and then
they did. Okay, they updated it.
They didn't say what it is. They just said they took that off completely. So if it is 40 minutes, I will not be participating in that, because I'm like, that is like 20 minutes too long.
Well, I mean, it's funny because they have certain attractions in which they've been shortening the time, right? Because of the
Right.
attention span. Country Bear Jamboree, for example.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the original show, they cut several minutes out of it. And then they also, with the new show, they went short, right?
Yeah.
As far as the runtime goes compared to the
Yep.
original. So you have that. I feel like a lot of the thrill rides, they probably wish were a tad bit longer. And a lot of the, like the shows were shorter, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm off base, but I feel like people wish that the Guardians queue experience was a tad bit shorter.
Mm,
I think most
yeah.
people feel that.
I
For
think it's
example,
because you're just shoulder to shoulder with people for so long. That's for me, that's the thing. Is like you're like crammed into these small rooms for so long.
yeah. Well, to
It's
me, the transport room is unique and that's a good experience. But the one prior to that, where Glenn Close basically just talks and then they take it over
and
to
then Terry Crews, and it's
Merrick,
like, oh
yeah,
my
Terry
gosh.
Crews
I'm like,
gives a
just call
couple,
us Epcottians. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Just get it
yeah.
over with.
Terry Crews
Yeah.
gets a couple of humorous moments in there, but over time, it's not going to. Yeah, people are just going to want to get to the next thing
Right.
because that
Yeah.
room doesn't offer anything to the plot, really, not much.
The teleport room is awesome, but
Mhm.
people are so like Jason was so mad when we did Guardians this last time. We didn't talk about it, but we were in that room
Uh-huh.
and people started pushing through the door. Like they would just open
Uh-huh.
the doors to get out because I guess they're not locked, even though they automatically open. I guess they're not locked. So
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Rockin'.
probably a couple of dozen people walked out early,
Went
and
straight
he
to
was
the
just like
side.
out. He was vocally like
His
upset
bash.
about people doing that. Yeah, he was really mad.
Yeah.
So people are doing that. It ruins the whole final show, but people are obviously very impatient about it.
Truthfully, I got to be honest. The second time we rode it this last time, we actually hung back. We didn't go to that side. We actually stayed on the opposite side and just waited
Yeah,
for everybody
we've
to
done that
go
a
in.
couple times too. I think if
There.
we were lightning lane, I might do that, but we waited like an hour in the virtual
Uh-huh.
queue line. So
Uh-huh.
I was like, dude, let's get to the ride, man.
Yeah.
Because that was after my marathon.
You know, the thing I noticed though is if you want to talk about the amount of wait time that you wait versus being close to the front, it's not like a massive difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
if
it's a
that room's
difference. Don't get me wrong. It has to be a difference. It's like physically impossible for it not to be.
yeah, you're
But
talking
I
a few
mean,
minutes versus
yeah, because
yeah,
they're pretty efficient as far as how quickly they load at that point, you know?
yeah. As
So,
long as it's running smoothly. Yeah. But I know we went off on another thing, but back to the villains thing I wanted to mention, because the concept is interesting. It says the magic mirror, there's dozens of villains trapped in it, and they want they want the mirror to reveal which villain has been treated the most unfairly of them all.
oh, that's kind of cool.
So I guess they're all gonna plead their case for which one of them is
Yeah. It says
been
Cruella
treated
DeVille, Captain Hook, and Maleficent actually specifically plead their cases, present their cases on stage,
right.
persuading with wicked wisdom
Yeah,
and
they
wisecracks.
show Jafar, Hades as well. So I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of live actors.
You know, to me, it's kind of interesting that they put this in an area which they used to have a villain shop devoted. I don't guess they still do. Do they? Do they still have villains in Vogue? I haven't really paid attention. I don't think they do.
Yeah, it's not anymore. They used to. That was a cool shop, by the way. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's mostly like Pixar merch, isn't it?
Yeah,
That shop.
they had the what was the name of that game? The CD-ROM game at that.
Yes.
Watch the Cheshire Cat. It didn't turn out to
Mhm.
be as cool as it sounded it would be, but still, you know, it was a cool store. It had
Yes.
villains thing. At the time, that was kind of a rare thing, which is what I think made it more cool, right?
Yeah.
So,
And now it's like the same merch you see in almost every shop is,
yeah.
you know, whereas it used to be more, oh, I want something unique. I'm gonna go there. And but yeah, it's not that way anymore, unfortunately.
to go along with a couple of the news stories that we kind of strayed from a little bit, Walt Disney and Magical Life has been delayed until
Good.
July 17th at Disneyland.
So
It
until the
was
actual anniversary.
almost 2 months, though, from what they originally said. This could just simply be because they wanted to put it close to the anniversary, though, don't you think? I don't think it has anything to do with any issues they're encountering, I don't think, but
Maybe. Yeah, it's only an extra month and a half or whatever, so
yeah.
maybe that's fine. And along with that, they are going to do that new verse that Richard Sherman wrote for Small World on the same date, Disneyland's 70th anniversary. So that's cool. I didn't
You know,
realize they
that's
were actually going to do that.
yeah, that's gonna mess folks up a little bit, though, right? When they're so used to that song for so long. They're gonna be the ones that sing along to it anyway.
Maybe you won't completely go insane if there's something new to it that's not the same.
Speaking of which, when we rode Small World, I had noticed, and maybe this is just the first time I've ridden it in quite some time, but they went back to the original, like putting the different ways to say goodbye down on at the end of the
Yeah,
ride instead of the
they
magic
stopped.
band thing.
Yeah, they stopped doing that, which kind of bummed me out because I enjoyed. Although maybe it was because if you had more than one magic band, it was like there was one time where like all the screens said Adam because um I had like 5 magic bands in my bag or whatever. And
Hey,
so it's like it picked
yes,
all of them up.
Jason actually mentioned that in an episode. It was like, "Hi, Jason. Hi, Jason."
Right. Yeah.
Because he had a bunch of magic bands in his backpack or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, maybe that is why too many people
Became
had
an issue.
multiple. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the other one though, Star Tours, I think still does it, where it pulls but it'll pull where you're from, like what city you have listed as well. It's interesting.
What point does it do that?
It's right before when you're going up the ramp, right before where that other robot is there.
Uh-huh.
But
The one
you're almost never stopped there. But
throw in the queue.
yeah, it's in the queue right before you basically go to the loading area, right
I
at the
don't
top of that
remember
ramp.
I don't remember getting anything like that when we went this last time. So it's
I think
not
it was
so it's
still
the
there.
one it's not the one that's, Patrick
Checking
Warburton then,
luggage.
that's the last one.
Maybe it is because it's after the one that's checking luggage. It's the one at the very top right before you go
That's
into the
Patrick
loading area.
Warburton. You
Yeah,
can
so
tell
it's
by
him.
the voice.
Yeah, so it's that one.
Huh. I don't remember that one giving any indication that was, picking people out, so to speak. So,
Yeah, I
huh.
see my name, and then it pulls your city too, like where you're from, because they talk
Weird.
about that's a strange planet or something. Yeah, they'll mention it. Yeah, that sounds like a strange planet or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Huh. I really enjoyed my Star
yeah,
Tour this last time.
I yeah. It depends on which ones you get, I think, because some of them are good and some of them are a little boring.
Well, I think you always get Ahsoka now, right? Like right now it's a regular
I
thing.
Yeah, but I think so. I've gotten Cassian once, and I've gotten Grogu, but I think Ahsoka is also
Well, see, I
on
got
the
Ahsoka
screen.
and Catsian, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like she's always like on the screen on the
Mhm.
right, but the projection or whatever
But
could be
the
Grogu or
planets I know I went to the Wookiee planet as one of them. I feel like I went to Gungan City too.
yeah. What did I done the Purgle one? That was kind of cool. The space whales. That was
Mhm.
from Ahsoka.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that one, actually. I don't think it was this past time, though.
What was the most recent one though was kind of boring, and I forgot. Oh, it was the one where you end up going to the one from Rise of Skywalker or whatever, where you go to the where the Death Star fell into the water. I don't know, whatever planet
The
that was.
Salt Planet? No.
No, that was
That was a lot very
Craig
neat.
Last Jedi, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But then you end up at where all the Star Destroyers, where the Emperor, whatever. That was anyway. All right. So a couple of things at Galaxy's Edge, right? They're gonna do a projection show at Disneyland to continue ruining the timeline thing that they've thrown already out the door.
Yeah, we found out recently about Luke potentially being
Right. That was the
involved.
other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke. So Luke's gonna show up, which is like an R2 apparently. So it's like, okay, there's no like who cares
Well,
about this?
I think we predicted long ago that timeline was not going to last.
Right.
You know.
And mainly because people don't really care that much about the Disney ones, the especially Rise of Skywalker one. So
Yeah.
they don't, and it was really set before that movie anyway, wasn't it? Because of
Yeah, their objective was to have it be a place trapped in time, so to speak. That was also the objective when they had the hotel actively bringing people there daily
right,
as
right,
well.
yeah.
So
I think now they should just sort of try to make it Star Wars ish, but not really stick to the whole timeline movie,
Mhm.
which they're not really
Mhm.
doing anyway. But because you got Mandalorian on there, so it's like this the timeline
Right.
doesn't
It kind of
line up.
died with The Mandalorian, and now they're adding more.
Right.
But I'm okay
Or
with that because I kind of figured it was going to go that way anyway.
yeah.
The next step is get rid of the blue and green milk, or at
Right.
least
Because nobody wants.
adjust the recipe or something to make
Yeah.
it more appealing. Real quick, how about this class action lawsuit over the DAS service, which
Doesn't surprise me.
right, I'm not all that surprised, but I gotta be honest, I think the changes they made actually keeps it more honest. That's just me.
Yeah. But
I'm
I
just
think
shocked
maybe
that
that's
I'm
why.
shocked that there's that many people that would, it would actually get to the point of a class action lawsuit. Well, maybe I shouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I see the part of the complaint is that their guests were required to disclose private medical information, violating privacy laws, like because Disney wants you to prove that you actually need it, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But and
It's not
public,
really a gray area.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure on that one.
I gotta be honest, I don't think it violates HIPAA for you to have to,
Prove that,
go
yeah,
yeah, that you have a disability. Not again, I guess nowhere else actually asks you to prove it per se.
yeah.
But I mean, if you're getting
You're
preferential
getting a
treatment,
right. You're getting a big perk for
essentially,
it. I mean, for
you need to
me,
give a little something.
yeah, I would be more than happy to give them whatever they wanted if I was trying to get this perk, if I needed
So
this perk.
I could see if it were something where they were inconveniencing you due to your disability, but this is actually giving you a perk due to your disability. There's a difference, right? Like it's not the same thing as like a restaurant having stairs and not providing a ramp. I mean, you
Yeah.
see what I mean? This is
Right.
not the same thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because, yeah, they did tighten the ability to get it, restrict it more, or make it a little bit more of a hurdle. But
And one that I shared, of course, was that the DVC was raising their price per point, which is not really all that surprising. But
no, it's going to happen.
it's just one of those things that when you hear it, it's like, well, here we go again type deal. As Jason pointed out, because he is the member
Yeah. The
of
DVC.
this podcast that is a DVC member, his opinion is that it is still a great deal. So
Right.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
over time, you're still saving money over rack rate for
Yeah,
sure.
it really depends on how you vacation.
Mm, yeah.
I don't know. I think you have to factor in what it costs fee wise every year as to whether it's truly worth it. But that's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I could let him hash that out a little better.
Right.
Anybody could justify it if they want
Yeah.
to,
I mean,
you know.
especially if you're buying something that's new and you got 50 years on it over that course of 50 years, if
Mhm.
you can utilize it, you will
Mhm.
have saved money over what you would have paid for rack
Mhm.
rate. But I remember my forgot my dad looked at this at one point at
Mhm.
what was it? Boardwalk or
How
something?
long ago was
It
this?
was like in the 90s.
It was back when the only time you could look at it was if you were there and they, like, gave you a presentation, I
Something
guess.
like that. I don't remember if he did. I don't remember what it was, but I just remember him saying it was like $85 a point or something. It was 80. It was like back then it was, and now it's like 235 is what it looks like is the minimum. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I could see it being totally worth it if you got into it from the very beginning and kept it.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Like if we
You
bought it
know?
back then, it would,
Kept your home resort at least anyway.
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But oh
Which I
well.
guess there's times when you can buy shares into the old resorts, but I think they still cost more now than they did back
Oh
then.
yeah. Yeah, totally. And yeah, I don't know how much time you get on those
You
when
mean
you
how
buy
many
it.
nights, basically,
Like
when
if
you
I
first
bought
buy?
Old Key West, they are just chasing these questions.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And now, they've kind of engineered it. Disney kind of pushes the limits on that as far as what the laws allow, we'll say, for timeshares. Just because they don't have to offer certain perks. So when they do resale, they basically eliminate the perks for the most
Right.
part.
Yeah,
So
if you don't buy direct, you don't get a lot of the
yeah,
benefits.
the way
Sucks.
the real estate laws go when it comes to timeshares, they can force you to be in a certain thing. Like they can't stop you for it being on resale. But then again, they can't stop you from incentive, right? They can't stop you from how you do your incentive. So, but basic, just the buying and selling of it, yeah, Disney can't do anything about that. That's going to occur. They can just take away the extras.
Right.
So,
One other story that we had talking about was that power outage that happened in Magic Kingdom.
oh yeah, we didn't mention that. It feels like that was so long ago that we forgot to that we
Right.
maybe should have already mentioned it by now. And
Right.
of course, the Super Bowl, the winners went
Oh yeah, yeah.
per usual.
Eagles. That was a
Jalen
really
Hurts.
boring Super Bowl game, but I'm glad the Eagles won.
It's weird. You say boring, but it's boring because it was not going. It was pretty obvious how the outcome was going to go pretty early on, but it still
Right.
was action packed
Well,
somewhat.
the Eagles played great, obviously.
Yeah,
That was fun to watch because I didn't
I was
really care, but
when I watched
yeah,
it, I
the
was a
Eagles won.
little bit surprised at how lopsided the crowd was because, like, even when they introduced him at the beginning, like when the
Yeah, yeah.
Chiefs came out, they had an array of boos, and I'm like, what? I would have thought at the Super Bowl they would have at least had their
Champions.
fans. I was like, man, there's really a lot of people that does not want them to three-peat. I know this is not a Super Bowl podcast, but one thing I noticed was that they didn't show Taylor very often like they did
Yes,
last year.
right.
And,
Well, it was on Fox, not far away.
yeah. Well, what was it on last year? Was it not on Fox?
No, they switch it every year, rotate. So it had to be CBS or
Okay.
ABC or
Anyway,
NBC or something.
however, like the in-between, like ESPN showed this clip on social media that they showed her in the booth, and she actually did get quite a
Yeah,
few
they did.
boos
Yeah,
did when they showed her. I don't know what it is. Band say champions. There you go. So that what it just says.
why. I mean,
Oh
they love
god.
a good underdog story. That's our
Yeah.
they do.
The Eagles though, just if you combine the championship game with the Super Bowl, right? They just like they killed those two teams. They were just that talented this year, to be honest. They were really
Right. Defense
they were the
wins
team.
championships
Oh
too.
yeah. They were the team. They were the team
Yeah.
to win it all. I'm a
Power
little bit
outage.
so yeah. Yeah, power outage. Power outage.
Go ahead. We
Going
need
back
to
to
wrap
that.
it up.
Let's put a bow on it.
It affected like half the rides at
So
Magic
many.
Kingdom.
Yeah, so many that came out, and it was essentially due to
Compressed air system had shut down or
yeah,
something.
that's a
Was
little
what it was.
strange.
So I assume that would affect pirates because of like the water cannons and stuff, and maybe
Some of the animatronics, actually.
yeah, or I guess so, yeah, maybe. And then Small World the same way.
Yeah, a lot of the older animatronics would have been affected by it.
Tron was still operating. People Mover was. There was a handful of others. I'm trying to think of what, like Carousel of Progress was not affected or no? I don't remember now.
I don't remember.
Maybe it was.
20 is a lot to be down for
Yeah,
one
for
park.
yeah. And it was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
That
It was not a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you feel like you got gypped if you were there that day?
Yeah, I would have probably just left. I would have just left and gone and had dinner somewhere.
You know, getting well, that had to like massively increase the wait times on the stuff that was open.
Oh yeah, I think Tron's wait went way up because of that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, too. Okay, so all those were down, but you already had closures galore over there, right? Like Big Thunder and Astro Orbiter and things like that.
Yep.
Were already closed anyway. So that just made it like 10 times worse. So
yeah, totally.
What do we think about Disney choosing to roll back the DEI stuff?
I'm not surprised based on the political.
But I mean, they didn't have. But here's the thing, though: they didn't have to. So,
No,
do we
they
think that they
probably
truly do we think they truly believe that these aren't necessary policies? Like, why would they do that though if they truly believed in it? It's my thing.
I think part of this has to do with the way Bob Iger talked about storytelling, because one of the things they mentioned was the, stories matter from all the underrepresented groups. But I think Bob Iger went on record talking about how making the story matter more than just trying to represent everybody. Making the story the centerpiece was more important. So I think Iger was already sort of changing that direction.
Well, I mean, some people could say, well, they're doing it to be in favor with the current administration, but at the same time, I'm sure there's some companies that have not done a thing.
Right. Until they feel like if they feel like they're being pushed one way or the other. But I think Disney's already been pushed because of the thing with
maybe, but
JPEG screwed up.
My personal feelings are, as long as a company is being fair and truly taking the best person regardless. Do you know what I mean? That's all that really matters. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I mean, it depends on who's making the decisions, right? Are they actually thinking about that when they're...
Right. I feel like sometimes DEI forces people to check boxes. That's the issue. But
I think if you truly care about DEI, you don't actually need
to check boxes.
DEI,
right. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to be forced to do anything. That's what I'm getting at.
Right. But I think some companies do because they're not even thinking about it at all. And they're
when I hear the term DEI, I think of racing most of the time. From back in the day.
Right. Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
Yes. That's what I used to think of.
Right.
Anyway.
But I think, yeah. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, I think we've got a nice little show here. We can put a bow on it.
Golden ribbon.
So you can find us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. That's all at TWTM Podcast. We have a Spreadshirt store in which you can get our exclusive TWTM merchandise. That is shop.spreadshirt.com/TWTM Podcast. We have a YouTube channel as well, which you can catch our episodes and some videos from the parks themselves. Where can you find that, Adam?
Our website, travelingwiththemouse.com. You can email us podcast at travelingwiththemouse.com, and there's links to all that and more on our website.
So for Adam, my name is John. This has been Traveling with the Mouse, and I hope you will join us on our next trip.